Welcome into another episode of Chic and Ball. I'm your host, Els the Truth. Thank you for tuning in and watching. On today's show, we look back at the 2024 season for the Washington Mystics. And I want to start in the front office. GM Mike Thibault and head coach has been with this team since 2012. Mike Thibault, he had coached the team up until the end of 2022, and then he hired his son, who was an assistant coach on the team the whole time, to head coach the team after he retired that next season. And we gonna give Pops a little credit because he did win the championship in 2019, but as GM, he did a terrible job. First off, you retired and hired your son. There was no real coaching search done there. Secondly, you basically pushed Elena Delle Donne into retirement when you could have just traded her and probably got like 2 first-round picks and some decent role players. All I can say is I just hope the new front office do something to get her back in the league, because I know she got a whole lot of basketball left. And I'ma just move on to talk about the players because Eric Thibault did a terrible job, and I'ma just talk about that while I talk about the players. But first, let me just say, this Washington Mystics team finished with a record of 14-26. They were one of the worst offensive teams, averaging 79 points, which was 9th out of 12 teams. And to keep it at the number 12, this team opened up the season on a 12-game losing streak. Secondly, before I get into the players on this team, I think they are all really good players, but I think as a collection, with no real scores, it just makes for a bad team. But if you take each player off this team and go put them on a different team, I think they all can be successful. That being said, now what I would like to do, I want to briefly talk about every player that suited up in the Washington Mystics jersey this year, starting with Jakia Brown-Turner. After 4 years at NC State, 1 year at Maryland, this being their rookie year, she only appeared in 2 games for the Washington Mystics. We didn't get to see much of her. She only played a total of 8 minutes. She didn't make a field goal, but she hit 2 free throws, so hopefully we get to see more of her in the future. Now I want to talk about Sug Sutton. She only appeared in 7 games for the Washington Mystics, scored a total of 4 points. So didn't have her best games, but when healthy, Sug is a real threat, so we gonna see her back on the court. She's a real WNBA success story who made it in the league after being drafted in the 3rd round by the Washington Mystics. Now I want to talk about Sike Kone. Another player who's been fighting to make WNBA rosters after being drafted out of the 3rd round. She appeared in 10 games for the Washington Mystics and gave them quality minutes. Averaged 8 points on 43% shooting, 57% from the 3-point line, and 89% from the free throw line. Now I would like to talk about Karlie Samuelson. My girl has been on a real WNBA journey, but I love it because she's not giving up. This being the 5th WNBA franchise that she's played on. This also being her best season in terms of scoring the basketball, averaging 8 points, which was a career high. Her best game of the year came against the Phoenix Mercury, where she went 6 of 6 from the field, including 5 of 5 from the 3-point line, and scored 19 points. Now I want to talk about Myisha Hines-Allen. 2024 was the 7th season for Myisha Hines-Allen. All 7 seasons she played on the Washington Mystics, but she didn't finish the season with the Mystics because they traded her to the Lynx, which damn near almost won them the WNBA championship. But while with the Mystics in 2024, she averaged 8 points on 49% shooting. And let me not sleep on the 36% from the 3-point line. Lastly, I want to say, I think it was a bad idea to trade her because all they really got back was Sike Kone and a 2nd round pick. They probably not gonna keep Sike Kone, and who knows what that 2nd round pick will be. Now I want to talk about Emily Engstler. Former 4th overall pick in the draft to the Indiana Fever, hasn't really played like a top 5 pick, but she really had a great season for the Washington Mystics despite their record. She averaged 6 points on 50% shooting and 47% from the 3-point line, and she appeared in 32 games for the Mystics. And she basically made the team off of a training camp contract, so we'll see where she ends up next season. She's already played on 3 WNBA teams. Now I want to talk about Jade Melbourne, the youngest player in the WNBA right now. If you didn't know, she was 21 years old until basically the end of the season. Another player who's been fighting to make WNBA rosters after being drafted out of the 3rd round, and she put out her best season thus far, averaging 5 points on 43% shooting and 35% from the free throw line. This team traded for her less than 10 days before the start of the 2024 season, so we'll see what happens in 2025. Now I want to talk about Julie Vanloo. She, on the other hand, was the oldest rookie in the WNBA at 31 years old out of Belgium. And she did play with some experience and a lot of confidence. She didn't look shook out there at all. She averaged 7 points for the Mystics, but I didn't like the percentages: 34% from the field, 32% from the three-point line. You need a little bit more out of your point guard, and that's probably why they allowed her to get selected out of the expansion draft. She appeared in 34 games for the Mystics, but damn sure can't wait to see her on the Valkyries. Now I want to talk about Didi Richards. I don't care what nobody say, Didi Richards is one of my favorite players in the WNBA. I'm literally all for the top tier personality, the top tier arena walk-ins. Now you might have to close your eyes when you look at the numbers on the court, because she only averaged 2 points on 40% shooting. But again, she's not here for the offense, she's here for the lockdown defense, and this team didn't have no defenders. It would have been good to keep her on the roster, because when you look at it, this team gave up on average 82 points a game, and they only scored 79 points a game. Didi Richards only played 10 minutes a game. I'm pretty sure if she would have got a little bit more time on the court, she maybe could have helped close that little 3-point gap. And this is one of my big problems with WNBA GMs. All they're looking for is players that can score the basketball, but nobody on the team can play no kind of defense. And I'm not being disrespectful at all, but Emily Engstler, not a defender. Karlie Samuelson, not a defender. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, not a defender. Stephanie Dolson, not a defender. Aaliyah Edwards, can't really defend the post. Ariel Atkins, not a defender. And then you get in these close games and wonder why y'all losing. And that's why GM Thibault and head coach Thibault were both let go, because this team and the minutes were not managed well. Now let me move on before I start cursing. Next player I want to talk about today is Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. The Washington Mystics drafted Shatori back in 2017, then traded her in 2020 for a pick that ended up selecting Didi Richards. After being released by the Connecticut Sun in 2021, she signed a 7-day contract with the Washington Mystics, and she's been here ever since. Shatori also appeared in all 40 games for the Mystics the past 2 years, and this last year in 2024, she finished 3rd in 6 Women of the Year voting. It'll be a change for Shatori in 2025, so make sure you tune into our free agency show to be updated. Now I want to talk about Brittney Sykes. And for correction earlier, this team do have a couple defenders, Shakira Austin and Brittney Sykes, but Brittney Sykes only played in 18 games, and we'll talk about Shakira Austin later. But for Slim, when she was on the court, she was balling, averaging 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, was probably on their way to making another all-defensive team, which she made the past 4 seasons if you don't count 2024. Good news for the Mystics, she's still under contract for another year, so you'll get to see her in 2025. Now I want to talk about Ariel Atkins, another player on this team that's a 5-time all-defensive player. She's played her entire 7-year career with the Washington Mystics, and she's under contract until 2026. In 2024, she played and started in all 40 games for the Mystics, averaged 15 points on 43% shooting, 35% from the three-point line. Ariel Atkins had a season high of 36 points against the Las Vegas Aces. She was by far the best player on the team this year. Now I want to talk about Big Mama Steph. When the season started, Big Mama Steph came out on fire. Through the first 20 games, she was averaging 11 points on 50% shooting and 50% from the three-point line. She did come back down to earth, finishing the season averaging 9 points on 47% shooting and 48% from the three-point line. So still played pretty well, pretty consistent. She played and started in 39 games for the Mystics, and she's also under contract through 2026. Now I want to talk about Shakira Austin. Affectionately referred to as Curly Head Kira, sadly, she's basically been injured over the past 2 years, so we're not really getting to see that progression from the Kira that finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. But I do have to say, when she's on the court, she's making a big impact, one of the best rim protectors and shot blockers in the league. This past season for the Mystics, she played in 12 games and averaged 12 points. She'll be a restricted free agent in 2026, and hopefully we get to see her for 40 games next year. Last player we're going to talk about today will be Aaliyah Edwards. She was definitely one of the bright spots on this team this year. Definitely one of the reasons I was tuning in to watch. Despite not getting the time on the court that I think she deserved, she had a pretty good rookie year, averaging 7 points and 5 rebounds. But what I really liked as a mid-range inside-out player is that she shot 49% from the field. If they can keep Shakira Austin healthy for a full season, I'd love to see how them two complement each other in the front court. Shakira Austin more of a defender, Aaliyah Edwards gonna hold it down on the offense. Message to new head coach Sydney Johnson, just don't mess it up, bruh. There you have it, another episode of Chic and Ball. If you made it this far in the show, please hit that like button and get somebody else involved. Share the video if you know somebody else that loves women's basketball or just want to start watching women's basketball. Let me also mention to you guys, our email is open. Hit us up, realprm@gmail.com. Again, realprm@gmail.com. Send your voice recordings or inquire about coming on the show. You can come on the show and debate me or just talk about your favorite teams, or you can just confront me about something you've seen or heard on the show. It's open to any and everyone, and I would love to get y'all more involved. But that's all I'll say for now. Thank you again for listening and watching. I'm Els for PRM. Talk to you on the next one.